perfectly equipped to have every 10 pounds up until 205, and then you go 205, 225, and then heavyweight you could bump up to 285. This is the start of that. Cruiserweight allows some gap for those guys who are certainly big, they're athletic, but they're not quite full-fledged heavyweights, but obviously too big to then go and make 205 pounds. I think Cruiserweight serves a very unique purpose, and I think it is something that should really be implemented everywhere, and I love that CageZilla is doing it. And both of these guys, Matt Gordon weighing in at 213 pounds, probably could get to 205, but for a guy like Andre Monroe, who, at 222 and stacked, maybe this is the perfect weight class for him.
All right, let's throw it down to Chris Fuller. We'll get the official introductions here for this second bout here at CageZilla 68.
Salisbury Center, this bout is scheduled for 3-minute rounds in the CageZilla Cruiserweight division. Starting out, fighting out of the right corner, standing 5'11" and weighing in at 223 pounds, fighting out of Beta Academy, he is making his CageZilla debut. It's Andre Monroe.
Andre Monroe, 5'11" and 222 at 30 years of age out of Beta Academy.
And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 6'1" and weighing in at 213 pounds, fighting out of Gracie of Raleigh, North Carolina, also making his CageZilla debut, it's Matt Gordon!
Matt Gordon, 6'1", 213, 41 years of age, came all the way up from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for 3-minute rounds, and your referee is Victor Matamalo.
All right, Victor Matamalo will be the referee for this second bout here at CageZilla 68 as we get everybody out of the cage, including Christina, if she can make her way out of there. They locked her in. She trucks across the cage, coming out the other side. This is scheduled for 3-minute rounds. 3-minute rounds. We'll get them all locked up. Victor checks with the officials, and he checked with the fighters, and here we go.
One thing I'm interested to see here is, can Matt Gordon get the fight to the ground, and how well equipped is his boxing to deal with the athleticism and Muay Thai of Andre Monroe?
Yeah, and I see a brown belt in BJJ for Matt Gordon, so he definitely, hey, I want to get this on the ground, and I want to get away from Monroe and the striking from him.
Well, one thing I'm seeing already that makes me nervous is Matt Gordon is reaching for those kicks. You see he's lowering his left hand, and Andre's starting to get those feints, and that's where the opportunity is going to be.
Oh, good left hand from Gordon, and a right hand from Gordon.
Good trip. Now Andre was actually able to finish the trip. It looked like Matt went to get that inside trip himself, and Andre was able to just drive him forward into the cage. But again, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, you could see the shifting of the hips already. Andre's got to be careful here.
Trying to maneuver around. Now remember, if you're at home, this is your first time watching, they cannot grab the cage with their hands. They can use it with their feet. They can also use their back to shimmy up the cage, but no grabbing the cage with their hands.
Correct. And right here, good posture from Andre. And now we got to be a little bit careful, because one of the things that's stopping Matt from getting out of here is that cage that you just mentioned. He's shrimping well right there. You could see it, but then he's running out of room to continue that shrimp and start to open up. He wants to throw that arm bar over, but Andre's just got a good base, and the cage is working in his favor.
Now Matt Gordon making his way back over to his corner, and his seconds will be able to be right in his ear. Maybe that'll be a little bit helpful for Matt here as he makes his way up from Raleigh, North Carolina for his first fight here in Manassas, Virginia at CageZilla.
And it's really apparent that Andre has done some good cage work here, because he's using it to his advantage. You can see he's leaning in and really putting Gordon in that cheese grater position, which is where his head and shoulders are up on the cage, but his back is flat on the mat, which really, it's like almost like spinal manipulation in the sense that he can't flex or shrimp the way he normally would. And it forces them actually to do what Matt is doing right now, go flat next to the cage, because they can't shrimp any other direction.
A lot of energy being exerted from Matt Gordon right now on the bottom also.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things now where it forces him to only be able to shrimp a certain direction, and in this case it would be to his right.
So a lot of exertion. We talk about, hey, look, some guys want to be on top, some guys want to be on that bottom. They like to fight from that position. But I've seen Matt now for this last almost 2 minutes just nonstop try to get out of this. And if you haven't ever tried to get out of somebody laying on top of you this entire time,
it's very, very tiring. And, the other thing I'll tell you is Andre's really leaning forward. Now, he's got to be a little bit careful here. You can see once Matt can potentially grab that foot, there is a sweep opportunity there. But you're right. When you have somebody who's big driving into you and you're on the bottom, you're carrying their weight. And in MMA, you can't hang there. You got to get up to your feet. One of the things I'm seeing from Matt is that he's not really able to climb his legs the same way. He's got a closed guard, which is good. He's doing a good job of controlling the upper body, but he's taking a lot of these arm punches, which might not knock you out, but they are certainly uncomfortable.
And shots to the rib here with about 10 seconds left to go. Andre was just laying rights and lefts to the rib cage of Gordon as it was exposed.
Yeah, and look, that's a successful first round for Andre Monroe. He just went in there with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, controlled him, was in a position where he could keep him there. And honestly, I think if you're Matt Gordon, okay, now I got to keep the fight standing or get on top. I cannot go back into that position here going into the second round.
Yeah, Monroe took almost total control of that from right off the jump. I thought Gordon landed a couple of rights and lefts to kick things off, but then that immediate shoot, take Gordon to the ground, and now Gordon was in trouble for the last, 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, there were some good strikes there exchanged. I was a little bit nervous with Matt. He was reaching for that kick. He had his hands kind of outright in like that pushing motion, which isn't necessarily a bad thing when you could start to work your way into the clinch. But if somebody's feinting you out and you drop your hands, then those opportunities for striking occur. Now, I did see he landed a nice counter left hook after eating that low kick, which is what you want to do, right? When people start throwing low kicks, you got to make them pay. And then that was actually, he went for that inside trip, and, not to rewrite history, but he ended up on the ground.
All right, we get the seconds out. This is the start of round number 2 here. It's scheduled for 3 rounds. They're 3 minutes long as Victor Malamala gets everybody out, checks with both fighters. And here they go, coming out, touching gloves right on top of the CageZilla logo. Last time it came out, pretty exciting with some rights and lefts. That little lunge right there is going to get him in trouble every time.
Oh, that was a big body kick. That hurt him. That might have taken the wind right out of him.
Monroe caught him right in the midsection with that first kick, and here we go, rights and lefts. Let's see if Matt Gordon can pull him in and keep him close.
And now Andre's in a much better position. He's starting in half guard. And again, Matt Gordon, he's got the lockdown. He's trying to use it, but you can see every time he starts to shrimp, he goes back and crosses his legs to prevent Andre from passing, which he's about to do right now. This is Matt's opportunity, though. He's looking maybe for deep half. Instead, just go for that underhook and start to work your way up. Right there. There you go. You see it.
Good shoot right there from Matt. Let's see if he can get Monroe up here. Monroe carrying a couple of pounds on him here. Not too much, but a couple.
He did a good job of getting up to his feet, but
BJJ working for him there.
Yeah, he threatened that deep half entry and then used it instead of throwing Andre on top of him, which I think was a risky move. He wisely used that underhook to stand back up. But now Andre's looking to grasp his hands together, and he's in on the single.
Let's see if Gordon can do something here. He's catching his wind, it almost looks like. But those knees to the thigh are going to start paying dividends here later in this round.
Yeah, it's not a good spot to be in. It's kind of like you're jammed up. You got somebody pushing you up against the cage. You're upright, and they're protected from really any strikes you throw at them.
That leg is starting to hurt. You can see Gordon trying to move it around so he doesn't keep getting kneed in it.
Andre's trying to look for that trip and slide that leg out.
At some point in time, there's not a lot going on, but I would think Victor might move him off the cage.
Well, Matt was trying to work that underhook.
Underhook, yeah, I see the underhook now.
Andre's got his hands clasped. He's got to be careful, though. There's a little bit too much space. If he wants to go for that single, he's got to drive his hips in and lift.
I was getting ready to ask. We drive the hips, get that underhook in there, and sit down on him.
Exactly. Very good. I think I'm wearing off on you.
You are. Hey, look, it's been 5 years, brother.
Good. There it is. There was that trip that Andre had been working for, and he kind of abandoned it for a minute, and then he was able to get and finish that takedown against the cage. And Matt, he's kind of going back to that close guard setup. You got to start getting active here because at this point you're basically down 2 rounds, so you need to start getting either submission or some heavy activity.
30 seconds left to go here in round number 2 here, this second bout at CageZilla 68. Matt Gordon, he's on the bottom. He'll have the blue tape around his black gloves. Andre Monroe, he has those black gloves with that red tape, and he's in total control of this.
Really good jiu-jitsu here from Andre Monroe.
This is where the crowd starts to get frustrated, though, because they don't see it. It's a lot of rolling around on the ground, getting irritated, but there's some actual thought and actual meaningful to this situation that both fighters have put themselves in.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Gordon tried to pull that deep half entry and then work his way back up. Andre, a little bit more wise to it this time, kept him on his back and landed a couple really tough elbows there.
If you're the seconds for Monroe, how does he finish this? Like, what are you telling him?
You'd say, hey, look, you got to go for broke. You got to drive forward. You got to throw more punches. And really, you have to avoid going to the ground unless you're absolutely positive that you're going to end up on top. You can't stay underneath Andre anymore because his control is so good. But the thing that I would tell you impresses me the most against the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt is that he's so active on top. Right? He's forcing Matt Gordon to just hold on and not really able to put any significant offense together from the bottom. And that, to me, is trouble.
And this is where you get the great instruction from the Beta Academy. There's so many guys that we've seen just having that coach in your corner. Now, we just don't know a whole lot about Matt Gordon coming up from Raleigh, North Carolina, but as he makes it his way over, he's grabbing some wind. He took the mouth guard out, right? We start talking about the difference of leaving it in, standing up, sitting down. Now he's starting to try to catch some wind here with about 3 minutes left to go. Seconds out, Victor Malamala checks sure that all the judges are ready. Both fighters, hang on, scoot back. We'll get ready. He's ready to rock and roll right now. Come out, let's see if we touch gloves. I'm going to tell you, Matt Gordon looks a little bit winded right now. He looks just really tired.
And there was that big body kick at the beginning.
Oh, good left hand from Andre Monroe. He jumps in it real quick. Now he's just laying haymakers.
Matt threw that lazy left hook like you called, and Monroe just countered with a beautifully timed cross.
Now we got an elbow on the throat and just laying haymakers from Monroe. He's on top in total control.
Monroe, again, threatening that deep half entry, now using that underhook, trying to work his way back up.
Gordon's a tough guy.
Very, very tough. That was a really
shot.
Left hand.
Now he's just fighting for his life right now. Let's see how long Victor lets this go. But as long as he keeps tucking it in there, trying to survive, see if we can't get them all in there. But it's going to be a long 2 minutes for Matt Gordon, who's on the bottom just taking punishment.
And right there was his opportunity if you want to go for that deep half guard. Because as he was driving up, and now he's going for it again, he has the arm in the right position, but he's got to get his head underneath the thigh, or excuse me, the hamstring of Andre. And now Andre's really stretched him out and using that forearm for control. That's a tough position, right? You have to drive up, make them commit, and then when they push back into you, that's your opportunity to get underneath them for that deep half entry, which he's tried a few times here, but MMA is just different.
Yeah.
Some things in jiu-jitsu really, they have a tough time transitioning when there's strikes and different levels of control.
And 222 pounds just laying on you right now.
Yeah, that's not an easy move to pull off on anybody, especially somebody who's that big. And I would tell you, I think the risk outweighs the reward, but you got to go for something, right? At this point, you got a minute and just under a minute and a half left. You've been on your back for 3 rounds. You've taken some big shots. We got to start throwing some Hail Marys.
And we talked about each time Gordon's come out with that lazy little left-right, and Monroe was ready for it this time. It's like seeing the same pitch all 3 times at bat,
Yeah, you got to work some feints in there. And, I actually think that Andre did a good job of taking a half step back, which just changed the rhythm enough, just changed the range enough for Matt to have to deal with. And Victor Malamala is looking real close here. Every time he thinks about stopping it, Matt Gordon does do something. It's just not a whole lot.
Now Matt's just trying to get through to say, hey, look, the drive all the way home, I want to make sure I didn't get stopped on me, right? I want to, if I can survive for 30 more seconds, I made it the full fight. I didn't win, but I went up, had a good right elbow from Monroe. I just missed. Let's see if he's getting these elbows in here. But let me tell you, Gordon's trying to stretch him out.
And that's the move. You got to stretch them out, and you have to separate their hips from their body in a sense, right? Create space so that you could then try to threaten with triangles and arm bars. When somebody is tight and compact, you're not going to get those opportunities. The only way you're going to get them is if you get somebody stretched out.
10 seconds left to go here. This final round of bout number 2 here at CageZilla 68. Looks like Monroe is in total control of this. And that's it.
Yeah, and I think that was a clean sweep for Andre Monroe. A really terrific debut performance. And hats off to Matt Gordon. He survived some really tough positions.
Good job for Andre Monroe as he took total control of this from the jump. And that third round, here we go, come back to this left hook right at the beginning of round number 3. As you see this, check this out here. Watch the step back that you're talking about. What? Bang, right there. And I almost thought Gordon was going to come around with his left, but it was really lazy and not in time.
Yeah, and that footwork adjustment that Andre made was terrific, and that's classic Nakapan head guy over there head coach over there at Beta Academy. He made small adjustments so that he was just out of range, so that left hook became a reactionary hook. And if you throw a reactionary hook to somebody who's throwing a straight rear hand, you're not going to win that race. It's only timed when you catch the time and you start to anticipate and beat them there. And in that third round, after throwing that check hook a couple times, Andre had timed it properly, and he was able to beat that left hook to the face.
I'm hoping to see Matt Gordon come up a couple of more times. I think that he'll be a much better fighter now that he's seen this event. And I know it's his debut, but, look, MMA, like you talk about, is a different animal than BJJ, just total on the ground, doing a lot of things. You got to start throwing those rights and lefts, and don't throw them lazy, especially at the beginning of the fight. Let's throw it down. Oh, does Chris have them? Nope, he does not. Victor got everybody like he was ready to rock and roll there. Hey, don't forget, if you're at home and you'd like to make this fight live, next one's coming up in September. It's a TCB, and then another one in November for CageZilla. You guys can go to CageZilla.com and check out buying some tickets. Tonight we'll have the after party, so everybody who's listening out in the crowd tonight, make sure you stick around for the after party and the bikini contest that happens at the end of every show. All right, now we're ready. Let's slow it down to Chris. He's got the results.
Salisbury Center, after 3 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. Judge 1 scores about 30-25. Judge 2 scores about 30-25. And Judge 3 scores about 30-27. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. Out of the red corner, it's Andre Monroe.
Well, there you have it. Andre Monroe comes away with a big win tonight. His debut for CageZilla MMA, or excuse me, the Beta Academy MMA. So Beta comes away, and we don't see them lose a whole lot. So this is kind of what we're used to, right? The Beta comes in here, wipes everybody up. They travel really well. So it's great having those guys back in here for bout number 2 of CageZilla 68. All right, when we come back, still more to go. Fight number 3 will be here. Don't go anywhere.